And welcome back. Now, I've never let schooling interfere with my education. So said Mark Twain. But how important is schooling in making us who we are? And in particular, how telling is the type of school we attend? Graduate recruitment specialists Bright Network found privately educated graduates expect to be paid 12% more in their first job than their state-schooled counterparts. And a third of state-educated students also think their background has hindered them in an application. But get this, a quarter of privately educated graduates feel the same way. Here to tell us more, it's James Uffindell. He's founder and CEO of Bright Network, which conducted the study. We also have state-educated Sophie Reynolds from Cambridgeshire. Good to have you both in the studio. And Justin Urquhart-Stewart is still with us. Let's talk to you, James, first about this research.
Thanks, Liam. So we've just released our research today. We've got over 600,000 graduates on our platform, and we're passionate about unleashing kind of bright young people. The research has found some fascinating things. So you're absolutely right. Private school educated students expect to start on £28,000 a year, but state school educated students expect to start on only £25,000 a year.
And these are graduates and graduates. We're not comparing. We're not. It's the research isn't skewed by the fact that private educated students are more likely to be graduates.
No, not at all. So these are members of our Bright Network community. Through the kind of the 3 years when they're at university. So it's a really good barometer because every year we measure it and how they're feeling. So another big theme in the market, interestingly, picking up on your topic about kind of how we bounce back, is they are feeling a lot more confident. So they've just been through the worst recession in 300 years. Before the pandemic, they were feeling roughly about 50% of all undergraduates felt they were going to get a job when they graduated. That then dropped to 39%. And interestingly, average starting salaries also fell as well. So they fell from about kind of a I think it's about £28,000 to about £26,000. But then that's now both come back. So they're feeling as confident as they were before the pandemic, and they're also feeling very bullish on their salaries. And also to pick up on that point around contacts, so 24% of state school educated students feel that lack of contact network really does kind of hold them back when it comes to getting a job. And interestingly, private school students are far more likely to do internships. So if you think, you were talking about kind of big companies earlier, half of those big companies fill their roles through internships. 66% of state school students have done an internship versus just 50% of state school students. So we really need to get kind of young people.
And that might go back again to parental contacts, general culture, what your sense of what's normal. Your sense of how people live, right?
Exactly. When I was at university, both mum and dad had left school at 16. I could see the students who were running off to get jobs. Often they had kind of older brothers or sisters or family connections. And what we do at Bright Network is try and use kind of data and curation to put that network around each of our members. So we work with over 250 of the world's big employers. And it's great. They fund us to put this support around every undergraduate in the country.
Now, Sophie, you went to a state school, a very good state school with very high levels of academic achievement, one that I know well myself. Did you ever feel that you were held back? Because where you live, on the border of Essex and Cambridgeshire, lots of very prestigious private schools, lots of people getting into top universities, but a lot of people from your school did that too.
Yeah, definitely. I think in terms of I was fortunate to go to a really great school. But I think what James was saying about that network is something I really lacked. I live with my mum and she didn't go to uni, and none of my siblings went to uni before me. And I went to a uni where there was a lot of privately educated people. So I definitely felt that gap there, and that confidence gap came from not having the same network as a lot of the people that I was around at university. But yeah, as I said, I was fortunate to go to a really great school, but I definitely lacked that network to pursue my career.
What would you say to this argument that now the top universities are actually discriminating against people from independent schools because they want to fill their quotas, which the government is pushing on them, to get people from state schools? And it tends to be people from, with all due respect to you, you've done brilliantly well, state schools in leafy parts of the country, from affluent parts of the country. So there's still some discrimination going on.
Yeah, I would agree. But I think filling quotas is a very dangerous thing. I think obviously takes away the actual person that is kind of getting that role at university. But no, I do agree with you. There is still that kind of issue there by those state schools which are in those more affluent areas. For sure.
Is there still a class system in Britain? Is it holding you back? You seem to be doing pretty well.
I think I'm doing well, yeah, but I think there is an element of the class system. You know, I'm still friends with people who are from very different backgrounds to myself. So I definitely feel that gap, which is something when it came to pursuing my career. A lot of people I know got experience off the back of family networks and friends, whereas mine was very much on my own back. And it took a lot longer and it was a lot harder, I would say.
You had to bang the doors down.
Yeah, something like that.
Justin, you spent a lot of your professional life in the City of London. It was a gentleman's club. It was an old boys' club. How is it these days?
All of that got broken down, thank God. Big bang, saw a lot of that.
In the mid-'80s?
It depends on which father, choose your father, but which regiment they were in, by the way, male only, of course, and, of course, which regiment, which college they went to, any of those sort of things. Oh, and you could divide it up by religion as well. So it's Catholic, Jewish or Protestant, you weren't one of those, you got a problem. If you've chosen the wrong house, you got a problem. And it swapped from that, became then a greedy meritocracy. So you can be what you like, but today you make loads of money and got too greedy and we saw the bonus culture come in. It's now moved a bit back from that, but nonetheless, it's still there underneath it. The big difference I found between the private and the state ones recruiting people was actually the confidence. The ones being private school were given more confidence, almost felt they sometimes had a right to it. You had to knock them on the head for that.
Sometimes quite off-putting, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's going into schools and teaching them about certainly economics and things like that and how they build their careers. Once they know actually what the rules are, how they can go about it, what people are looking for, and it's not just the exams, that makes a difference.
What's the answer here, James? Why does this research matter, not just to the broader economy, but to society?
Well, we know we've got 1 million unfilled vacancies. And the more we can unleash the talent in the country, the more economic activity we'll have. We've got 1 million firms sitting there wanting to give people the right jobs. At the moment, 50% of graduates and roles that, the research varies, about 30 to 50% of graduates and roles that don't actually require a degree. And also making sure that firms are accessing that talent pool, because the broader they can reach, the more talent they can access. Interestingly, firms are doing some really interesting things. So we're at 250 top employers. So things like scrapping CVs in terms of when they're looking at recruitment, scrapping grades, using more sophisticated testing, because there was a Harvard...
So psychometric testing.
Yeah, psychometric testing, absolutely.
That you can't be coached for. It's just personality driven. It's about your innate ability.
Absolutely, 100%. And interesting, there's a disconnect, and there's more education needs to be done for young people around understanding what employers are looking for. So students in our research, in the Bright Network research, it shows that they think it's academic grades and also how much they know about the industry. Actually, firms don't really care. They care about tenacity, so how resilient these young people are, and they also care about problem-solving skills as well. So making sure students have a better education means they'll be unleashed to build the workforce of tomorrow.
We're out of time, but I just want to ask you, Sophie, you're going to be a very successful person. It's just absolutely clear to everybody in the studio and watching and listening to this show. Would you educate your kids privately if you could afford it?
I don't think necessarily, no. I think I had a really good education, stay educated, and I think it taught me a lot of lessons, I would say.
Good for you. Sophie Reynolds, state educated, future corporate leader, future cabinet minister, it seems, and indeed James Uffindell of Bright Network. Thanks for bringing this research to our attention. And indeed, Justin Urquhart-Stewart.
Yep.
See you next time.